Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? Happy Monday. Thank you for tuning into the Keto Mom page. We are diving into Atomic Habits. Here's the deal. I guess I really failed. I did not do it yesterday. So technically, happy Father's Day to those who are fathers, whether it's physically or spiritually. But yesterday I did not come on here and do the live, mainly for a couple reasons. I was being present with my husband. We had church yesterday. But you know what is interesting is I would love to know this. So for those of you who are going through the book, or maybe you consistently work out throughout the week, maybe you consistently eat well, do you take a day off? So I did not read, I've read this book before. I did not read the book yesterday, but I also had other self-development things that I was doing. Does that make sense? So I was going to come on here really late last night, and I was going to go through chapter 7. I was supposed to go through it yesterday, and I thought, you know what? It's 10 o'clock at night, and I want people to know that if for some reason you have a day where you slipped up, or maybe you didn't read, or you hit the snooze, or you had one of those days, it doesn't mean that all is failed, right? So I sat down last night and I thought, I'm just going to not do it because I didn't do it in the morning. I had a great day with our family, and I thought I need people to know that if there is a day where you don't meet your expectations, it's okay, you do it the next day, right? So technically, we should be on chapter 8, but we didn't go through chapter 7. Doesn't mean that I failed or you failed. We're going through chapter 7, and it is what it is, right? I had a great conversation with one of my friends yesterday, and we were talking about responding, reacting versus responding in any area of your life. We talked about EQ. Have you guys, who on here knows what EQ is? Anybody? So for those of you who are just tuning in, where are you tuning in from? How is your morning? And who's reading the book with me? Are you reading or are you following along? Which either one is fine. We're going to go through chapter 7. And yesterday she was like, how do you constantly respond versus react, right? EQ stands for your emotional quotient. You know how you have an IQ, like how smart you are or how smart the test says you are? You also have EQ. You have AQ. So your EQ is how well do you handle situations? If something comes up and it's not the way that you want it to go, are you adaptable? That's your AQ. How adaptable are you? And your EQ is how you respond. Do you react out of anger, or do you respond out of oh, it's not a big deal. I'll get to it when I can get to it, right? So last night for me, I was like, well, I'm going to respond. I don't need to do a live at 10 o'clock at night. I already know that I should have did it that morning, or should I have? If I didn't pick up the book because I wanted to go through this as fast as possible and do it consistently every day, does it mean I failed? If you didn't work out, or you had some dessert with your dad, or you did something yesterday that you're like, oh, it doesn't quite line up with my goals, does that mean you fail? No, not at all. So we're picking up in chapter 7 today. And for those of you who are doing the Miracle Morning, this today would be your day 7 or your day 8, right? Does this mean that if you were trying to do 30 days in a row and yesterday maybe you didn't do all of them, does it mean you fail? No. The only way you fail is if you quit. So I'm going to consider today day 7 for everything. It might be your day 8. Maybe you started early and it's your day 9. The point is, the more that we consistently do an action, the more we consistently go after better, it will eventually create a habit and a system that moves into a lifestyle. Does this make sense? So, this chapter is about the secret to self-control. And it's actually a very simple concept and a very logical answer if you put it into play. So I want you to listen to this. He oftentimes starts out with a story. So there's a story. And basically he says this: disciplined people are better at structuring their lives in a way that does not require heroic willpower or self-control. In other words, disciplined people spend less time in tempting situations. I talked about this quite a bit on this page, whether you've heard it or not. It's a very simple concept, right? How do you want to be disciplined in something? I want to know, what are you going after? Do you want to be more disciplined in waking up early? Do you want to be more disciplined in drinking water? Do you want to be more disciplined in eating better, working out, watching your words? What is it? And whatever it is, you have to set up your environment to do so, right? So the people with the best self-control are typically the ones who need to use it the least. You want to know why? So then he talks about, let's see, we are about to create a disciplined environment. So for example, this weekend, we had a whole bunch of friends over. We had a fun time playing in the water. We had a fish fry. Everybody brought food over. So something that you might not want to eat would be on the table for everybody to eat, right? And discipline would be, are you going to grab it or are you not going to grab it? Sorry, I've got 4 dogs. Discipline would be, for example, discipline would be, now everybody left. If it sits on my counter and I see the cookies sitting on my counter, it's going to be easy for me to grab them throughout the week. But if I want to be disciplined and create an environment where I don't eat sugar, I have to remove the trigger. I have to remove the cue. We've talked about that in the beginning of this book, right? So he says, once a habit has been encoded in your brain, he talks about habits, the urge to act or follow upon that depends on the environment that you're in, the cue that you're in. So here's the punchline. Good morning, Annie. My girls are just waking up. Here's the punchline. You can break a habit, but you're unlikely to forget it. So he uses smoking a lot in here. Like, you can break the smoking habit, but you're unlikely to forget it. And the cues there's lots of things that can trigger it. So you have to remove it from your environment, or the cues that cause the trigger, right? Once the mental groove of a habit has been carved into your brain, they are nearly impossible to remove entirely, even if they go unused for a long time. So like, if you find yourself emotionally eating it, you've done it for years, there's going to be triggers that cause you to want to do it even years down the road, right? You're going to have to remove the cue or remove the trigger. So he says, in long term, we become a product of the environment that we live in. 2, put it bluntly, I have never seen somebody consistently stick to a positive habit in a negative environment. So here's the things. He gives you an example. If you can't seem to get any work done, put your phone in the other room, right? Your environment is everything, everything. So if you spend the most time in your home and you're working on eating healthy, you need to have healthy food in your home, right? If you spend a lot of time in your office, then you maybe need to say, I can't go into the employee lounge if it's full of junk. You have to create an environment for you to succeed. If you continuously feel like you're not enough, guess what? You need to unfollow certain people on social media or get rid of it for a certain period of time, right? If you're wasting too much time watching TV, remove the TV from your bedroom. If you're spending too much money on electronics, quit reading the reviews of the most latest tech gadget. If you're playing too many video games, unplug the console. So like, if you find yourself doing too much of something, you have to remove the trigger. You've got to remove the cue. You've got to change the environment for you to have success. Good morning. Did you sleep good? Yeah? Okay, self-control is short-term strategy. Long-term, you're going to have to work on the environment. It's super simple. So it just says, once a habit is formed, it is unlikely to be forgotten. People with high self-control tend to spend more time in the tempting situations. One of the most practical ways to eliminate a bad habit is to reduce the exposure. Self-control is short-term. Long-term, you need to change the environment. So that's it. Some people might be going, well, what else do I do? That's it. Let me ask you this question. What is one challenge that you feel like you're working on to make it into a better habit? What is something that you are doing or not? What is a bad habit that you want to change? So think about what that is, and what do you have to eliminate? Whether it's in your home or at the office or Maybe it's a way that you drive to get to work. You're always driving by this restaurant and it drags you in. Chick-fil-A seems to do that, right? What is it? Because if you can identify the cue or identify the trigger, that is what you have to change, right? That is what you have to eliminate. That's what you have to get rid of. So I think it was super great. Chapter 7 is a very self-explanatory, environmental. Yeah, you're right. I've got to get the cookies off my counter. I've got to remove all of the snacks off my counter so when I walk by, guess what? I don't grab them. I don't eat them. I don't see them. I don't want them, right? So I think this book is great. I hope you're continuously going through it. Join me for the rest of the week. We just did chapter 7. We're doing chapter 8 tomorrow. So if you want to read along with me, however you want to do it. And then for those of you who are going the Miracle Morning, keep going. So it's at least 30 days to create a habit. That's it. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys have an incredible day. Reach out with any questions that you have, whether you have questions about food or recipes or how to track or how do I get started. Whatever those questions are, reach out. I will answer all of those. I hope you have an incredible morning and we'll talk to you soon. You're very welcome.